Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss. He stuck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast from Columbia, South Carolina.
Wayne is first up from South Carolina. Wayne, thank you for the call, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Paul. When you were between gigs, I used to call in on Friday and make corrections, and I have some for the Big Ten Network. But before I make the correction, I want to remind everybody I hold the coveted certificate from the Pino Cook Ivan Manziel online podcast. Second,
Okay.
I am a true sophomore in the SEC Paul Finebaum program, hoping to complete my 4-year program. Having said those things, we had 2 callers call in from the Big Ten talking about Steve Spurrier's offense, talking about quarterback. Last year, Dylan Thompson broke the record for the most yards passed by any quarterback under the Spurrier tenure. Last year, that team scored more points than any team under the Spurrier tenure. But the thing I really wanted to share, when you go to the Paul Finebaum ESPN SEC school, you learn things about attendance. The women's program maxed out attendance. The football program.
Hey, Wayne, I hate to interrupt, but this is only a 4-hour show. Can you get to it? Can you make maybe one point here?
That's my point. You always encourage attendance. You always encourage participation, good journalism, and good facts.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always following you from your transition to Birmingham to Charlotte. And when I can't hear you live, I go to the podcast and
Okay.
catch you. Thank you.
I appreciate that. Okay. Didn't mean to be rude. I was just trying to make way for some other callers, but thank you for the kind words. I will be rude with this caller, though, without apologizing. Daryl is up next. How are you, Daryl?
And right, and Dylan Thompson couldn't hold Connor Shaw's jockstrap, so what's his point?
He was a nice man. I don't understand the point, though. But
So let me ask you this: is Spurrier like gonna take you out tonight or whatever? Y'all figure y'all might go out like to the 18 tee box and see how many trees y'all can get off tee box or something.
Yeah, Spurrier played in the golf tournament Pro-Am the other day in Hilton Head. I think he's at another golf tournament today. I mean, you wouldn't expect Spurrier to be working on a Friday in spring, would you?
Well, no, not when 6-6 is a good season. I wouldn't. Hey, couple things, 2 things real quick. You got to let me get these 2 things taken care of. All right.
Okay.
First of all, let me ask you this: would you say that an offensive coordinator and a defensive coordinator are carry a lot of weight as far as the success of a football program?
Sure. That's why they get paid a lot of money.
I agree. I mean, we've seen Gus Malzahn, what he meant to Auburn. We've seen, you go down the line. Absolutely. That's why it kills me when I hear these people calling here, talking about Mark Richt can't win the big one. I mean, he's coaching probably as many national championship games as Nick Saban has. He won 2 at Florida State. He's won conference championship games. He's coached Heisman Trophy. I mean, he's done pretty much about anything.
Well, Daryl, let me interrupt you. I mean, I think we have to judge Mark Richt on what he's done at Georgia. What he did at Florida State is no longer really part of the conversation.
Well, I agree with that, but I think Nick Saban or any head coach would tell you that their offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, are just as important to the success of a football program as they are. All right, now the last thing I want to talk about, okay, and this kind of bothered me yesterday. I'm going to be straight up with you, all right? I've already said this ain't the American Top 40. You're not Casey Kasem. This is not the friggin' Oprah Winfrey show neither. Don't come in here. You cannot wear pantyhose and hang around this show. And I'm talking about the guy that called in here yesterday. How many times have you ever talked to a person and you ain't seen him in a while and said, hey, man, dang, I thought you died. I mean, to come in here and cry.
He was upset, wasn't he?
Yeah, Daddy, I thought it was absolutely ridiculous. So say, okay, he needs to go find his little blanket, get his little pacifier and stick it in his mouth. I mean, to come in here and whine about that, and
I even tried Daryl to apologize. He wouldn't have anything of it, and so I guess we've lost Hiram as a caller from Selma, Alabama, and we'll all bow our heads.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, is he familiar with the word sarcasm? Hey, Paul, you going back home this weekend or what?
Am I going where?
You going back home, or are you gonna stay back for the weekend?
No, I can't go anywhere.
Okay, well, whenever you get back home, do me a favor. Speak to Herbert on the phone. Tell him Daryl comes.
Oh yeah, no, I'll see him tonight. Don't worry. He lives with me.
And hey, do me a favor, if I tell Spurrier to quit whining, I mean, they tell him there's 10, 6, and 6, and he don't cut it, okay? That is not going to cut it. He's better.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't mean to make any enemies here with all my new friends, but Spurrier making excuses about a 6-6 record doesn't work.
I mean, really, at all. I mean, major disappointment when I heard him say that. I mean, that's not the Steve Spurrier. Play him to the old ball coach. You know what I'm saying? I mean, what was it? He done got that old. Maybe it is time. When 6-6 starts becoming good for Steve Spurrier, that is the time that he probably needs to retire. See you, Paul.
Okay. Thanks. We go from Daryl to Lance, who is in Tennessee on this Friday afternoon.
Last big game Mark Richt coached in was Florida, and he lost. I mean, they were in a belt game last year, Paul. Come on. I don't understand the love affair with Mark Richt. But hold on. How can anybody wants to come on the show and say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was a more dominant basketball player than Shaquille O'Neal, has never played basketball, and has never watched it? If it wasn't for Magic Johnson...
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was one of the most dominant players in the history of the sport.
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar had the most dominant shot, the hook shot. Could you imagine Kareem Abdul-Jabbar trying to guard Shaquille O'Neal? That'd be like you trying to guard Marcus Spears on the block, Paul. Give me a break. I'm talking about dominant. I didn't say the greatest. I said he's the most dominant. I'm talking about sheer power, his defense. You're kidding me, man. Anybody say that ain't never watched basketball. But tell me about this guy, Matt Jones from Kentucky. They got the perfect guy broadcasting their state. Because, man, he's a coward, gutless. He want to hate on everybody. But, man, what's he doing the whole time? He don't want nobody to hate on people, but all he does is hate on people, man. Come on, man. Next time he comes on the show, tell him to bring his pom-poms and get a little courage because I want to talk to him. But tell me about Mark Richt, Paul. You got on Bobby yesterday about Mark Richt being a good coach. How's he a good coach? He ain't won in 10 years, Paul. It ain't good enough to get there in 2012. You got to win. In 2008, he had Matthew Stafford, Noshawn Marino, A.J. Green, and he lost 3 games, Paul. I mean, how much more talent do you need to win?
Well, he's always had the talent. I would agree with you on that.
I mean, every year I keep hearing they got running backs and offensive line. He's had that every year. They had Todd Gurley and Nick Chubb last year, but somehow they're better at running back this year. Somebody's missing forward, man. I mean, I ain't saying give Florida the benefit of the doubt, but we got to get off Georgia, man. They ain't done nothing. Florida's won 2 national championships since they even won the SEC, and that was DJ Shockley, man. Anybody remember him? Daryl probably don't even remember him. I get tired of Daryl calling in ragging everybody's program when his program ain't done nothing. Mark Richt went 6-7 not too long ago. He's still at Georgia talking about 6-6 will get you fired at Georgia. Bull crap, man. And Steve Spurrier was 11-1 against Georgia. Ain't no telling his record right now at South Carolina. He's on Georgia.
Lance, thanks. Really enjoyed that as always.
You didn't enjoy it, Paul. You never do, man, because you're like Matt Jones. All you want to do is build up your Alabama collars and slam everybody else, man. But that's all right. That's all right.
Thanks, Lance. Have a good weekend. Jumbo is up next in Tuscaloosa, one of my favorite places in the world. What's
Good
up,
afternoon,
Jumbo?
Paul. Man, I tell you what, I envy you. You look like you are in one of the most beautiful ballparks I have ever laid my eyes on. And them cheerleaders behind you, them are some beautiful Southern girls. But my question for you is, you get to travel around the SEC a lot. How would you compare our stadiums, baseball, basketball, football, compared to other schools? I don't know where you've been outside the SEC, but, man, I sure wish I was sitting beside you. You are in a beautiful place right now.
Yeah, no, you would probably enjoy this, no doubt. Jumbo, thank you for the call. It's good to visit. I think stadiums, as far as baseball, it's hard to find one nicer than this. I can say that without equivocation. There are some phenomenal places in the SEC. That's one of the great parts about this job, and the facilities are continuing to get better.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Let's check in next with Bobby, who is in Birmingham. Hey, Bobby.
Hey, how you doing, big buddy?
Okay, Bobby, thank you.
Boy, you geared up yesterday for the fall, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah, you perpetrated bad yesterday. I got old buddy. I found a newfound friend there, old Lance. Old Lance ever come to Birmingham, tell him to look me up.
Yeah, you'll take care of him.
Yeah, I'm gonna take care, and I'll take him to visit the Vulcan.
That would last a long time, Bobby.
Hey, I want to make something clear from our conversation yesterday.
Okay.
I never did say one time that Mark Richt wasn't a good coach.
Okay.
Only thing I said, Paul, was he couldn't win the big one. That's all I said. But I didn't know you were a baseball fan, Paul. You love baseball?
You know, it's interesting, Bobby. I grew up, baseball was my favorite sport. I was a rabid baseball fan for almost all of my youth, and then it began to dissipate a little bit. But, yeah, as a kid, baseball was the only thing I cared about.
Well, if you lived in my house, Paul, it was mandatory that you went to the ball game.
Oh, yeah. No, I used to. My parents bought me, we had a minor league team. They bought me for $5 a season pass. My buddies and I, we'd go sit in the bleachers and pretty much every night of the week.
Well, only somebody I didn't get to see when I was coming up was Josh Gibson at Ridgewood. I got a chance to see Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, Joe Black, Don Newcomb, and I got a chance to see Satchel Paige pitch.
Did you really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, see,
what was Willie Mays like as a young kid to see?
Hey, it was unreal.
I bet it was.
Yeah, the plays that Willie Mays made, but during that time, you know, the segregated Jackie Robinson and Campanella and all them, when they would come from spring play, they come to Birmingham and play with the Black Bears.
I mean, I knew, I didn't know what the backstory on that was, but that's fascinating.
Yeah. Well, go on and enjoy the ball game, Paul.
Thank you, Bobby.
All
appreciate
right.
it. Good to hear from
All
you.
right.
We appreciate that call very much. Let's check in with Linda next. Linda, good afternoon. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you doing?
Okay, thank you.
Good. I'm calling in for Debbie once again, and I had talked to her earlier. We had a good conversation, and she just wanted me to call in and say she is so appreciative for all to you and your staff and and I'm so grateful that you have allowed me to get this out about Debbie, because otherwise there would have been no way I could have got this out there if it hadn't been for you and your staff, Paul. And I want to thank you so much. And she has received overwhelming on her Twitter account. On her Twitter, it's blowing up. The well-wishers, the people that have her and her husband in their thoughts and prayers. She had one negative tweet, and that person is blocked from her Twitter account where he cannot call in anymore. And if I'm not mistaken, I think John Hayes defended her in that tweet. He tweeted that person. So we're just so grateful. We're just so grateful that you've allowed us to get this out about Debbie, because she does need our prayers and well wishes, and her and her husband both. And she's just...
Well, listen, give her our best, Linda. Don't worry about the negative tweet. You know, haters going to hate.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Slightly overcast evening, but weather dramatically better than it was yesterday when it was cool and drizzly as Game 1 of the Gamecocks and Vanderbilt took place. 3 consecutive College World Series final appearances. And, of course, Ray Tanner, the athletic director who was here in the first hour, stepped down and handed off the keys to one of his proteges, Chad Holbrook, who was with us. And Coach, I've kidded Coach Tanner along the way, and I wondered, would he be able to step away? And that's tough. But it looks like he's got a lot of other things on his plate.
He does, and I think he's having a great time being a leader of all our programs here on campus, and he continues to be a great mentor for me. When I need him, he's there, and I'm sure that's the way he is for every coach on our campus. And great baseball man, great sports guy, great leader, and makes great decisions. And I've learned an awful lot from the man, both on the field and off.
You grew up not that far from here in Shelby, North Carolina. You went to Chapel Hill, and he was at NC State. Where I come from, that's not supposed to work.
Yeah, he was coaching against me. He tried to get me out all the time, and he actually did a good job of that. And I think he admired the way I played, and we stayed in contact with each other over the years, and in the recruiting circles and on the road recruiting. And he'd lean on me, I'd lean on him, and when the opportunity came for me to come down here, I couldn't turn it down. And he called me and said, "Hey, I need you here at South Carolina." And he's always a guy I wanted to work for and learn from, and that was an easy decision. And it's been a great 7 years here, and won 2 national championships, played for a third, and hopefully we can get back out there real soon.
When you take over, 3 straight appearances in the final series of the year in college baseball, it's tough. I mean, there are tough acts to follow. This is one of the most difficult. But in looking back and leaning on him, is there anything in particular that you learned working under him, competing against him, and obviously now working for him as his head baseball coach that helps you get through the tough times?
Well, he's a great competitor, but he also understands how difficult this league is. And in baseball, you're going to have some ups and downs. In football, sometimes you can go out there and out-physical somebody and, find your way and will your way to winning, even though you might not be at your best. In baseball, one guy on the mound right there can stuff a pretty darn good team, and you can all of a sudden find yourself in a little bit of a losing streak. He understands that, and he's been great. I mean, I talked to him. We talked to him and had a lot of great times in my first 2 years, and obviously having a couple tough times now. And he gives me insight and confidence, and he gives our team confidence as well. And he's just a great mentor, a great baseball guy, and obviously I think the world of him.
Coach, you start off with high expectations. I mean, that comes with being at South Carolina. You're ranked in the top 5, 6 in the country, and then you got a bad injury. Things don't go well. You start losing games. That's tough in any walk of life, but you can't hide. I mean, you got Vanderbilt in here. You're on national television. You have the top 2 teams in the country. So internally, I mean, I'm sure you just want to walk in the woods and get out a good cry, but how do you deal with that?
Well, you just try to take each day as an opportunity to win. I mean, I'm a competitor. Our team's got full of competitors, and each day's an opportunity. No matter who the opponent is, obviously we got great opponents in this league. That's part of this league. Day in and day out, you're playing a team that's equal or better than you, and you have to try to find a way to win. And there's no this league is not for the meek, both in football, basketball, baseball, obviously, and you just got to try to find a way to win and play well, play up to your capability, and get a little momentum going in our dugout. But we'll be okay. The University of South Carolina has been good in baseball for a long time, and we don't plan on stopping now.
Help us understand the intricacies of this game, because, I mean, it's a long season, and not only do you have series like this one with Vanderbilt, but you have a game in the middle of the week against a team from around here that wants to beat you, and if you look over the great teams, you lose even during the championship season. You lost occasionally those midweek games, but I mean, you set a marathon, but it seems like it would drive me crazy sometimes to go through the ups and downs.
It does, and you have to be able to manage the good times and the bad. We talked about that with our players individually as well. One day you're 4 for 4, the next day you're 0 for 4, and are you going to keep an even keel from a personality standpoint and not go off the deep end emotionally or psychologically? And we just try to do the best that we can do. Again, this is the SEC, and we have incredible opponents in front of us, and I got great players in our locker room and great kids, and we'll find a way to pull ourselves up off the mat and get back in the winning column. I fully believe in our guys.
When you think about your basic fundamentals, and obviously every coach has them, and when you lose a midweek game to a team that your fans don't think you should lose to, and then you get off to a rough start, I mean, are there some basic tenets of your philosophy that you learned along the way, whether it was in Little League, at Chapel Hill, or from coaches that just they forget all the intricacies of what you have out here, but they keep you going?
Right. Well, I can only learn from history. A couple of years ago in 2012, we did play for the national championship. We started out SEC play 3-7, and things weren't going so well. And the year we won the national championship, we lost a couple midweek games. We lost to the Citadel, I remember clearly, and in this week we lost to Presbyterian. It happens from time to time when you go up against a midweek team, an in-state team, and they can be a little bit more fresh on the mound and throw one of their good guys at you, and you might be a little bit tired coming off an SEC weekend. So it happens from time to time, but you just got to keep an even keel, stay level-headed and understand there's a lot of baseball in front of us, and there's a lot to play for. And we can get on a hot streak right now, and this can be forgotten real quick.
Coach Tanner told us not to jump ahead to next year, but he's got a series set up with North Carolina and Charlotte. I'm sure that you're not thinking about that yet, but I'm sure at the time maybe you'll enjoy it once you get through this.
That'll be fun. I think playing in Charlotte is a little bit of a equal distance for us and them, and a great ballpark there. And
actually, I think you're closer.
And, we are a little bit closer, and I think it would be great for college baseball, and there'll probably be 10 or 12,000 people there at that stadium, and I'm sure our fans will come. I think that's great for college baseball. I think North Carolina and South Carolina should play every year. I think Charlotte's a great place to play.
And the football powers will play their first Thursday night of the season, not too far from where the new baseball stadium is, as you well know. So much on this campus, and we talked about learning and leaning on Coach Tanner, but you have a great women's basketball coach whose season does overlap with yours a little bit, but you also have Steve Spurrier, who I'm sure has told you what a great baseball player he was back in Johnson City.
Right. I learned all about his pitching expertise in his state championships, both on the basketball court and on the baseball diamond. I don't know. He's awfully good. What an incredible athlete. And we often hear how good of a golfer he is around here.
That's not. I played with him.
But it is a great campus. We have a lot to sell recruits and players in all sports, but great weather, great fan support, great facilities, a great leader in our athletic department. It's a great place to play ball, and no matter what sport it is, and we've been attracting some darn good athletes from all across the country, and we hope to continue to do so.
Got a big game tonight, which obviously people watching us will lead into. I don't know exactly how or what you say to a team after a tough opening round loss, but what would your message be tonight?
Well, there's still a series to be won. We hadn't lost the series yet. We're playing here at home. Should have our fans behind us tonight, and we got our best pitcher on the mound. So we'll see if we can keep the game close and try to find a way to win it late and get some momentum going. And then if you do that tonight, you have a chance to win the series tomorrow. So that's going to be my message to the team. And there's a lot to play for. And like I said, told them last night, even though it was an ugly loss, there's a lot to play for, and we hadn't lost the series yet, and we're playing at home. So let's get a good night's rest and come out ready to play.
Finally, a lot of our listeners and viewers, and we watch football where one loss can be cataclysmic. In baseball, you are going to lose. I realize you this is what you do, but is there a way to condition yourself, as you've just got through saying, well, it's one game. Is it about the series?
Well,
is that how you try to?
Honestly, I try to take it. We got 30 SEC games. Try to take it one game at a time, and I really don't look at the series, to be honest with you. Now we got 15, 14 left or so, and we got to try to find a way to 14 games left, and we got to try to win as many as we possibly can. And if we can win 8 or 9 of those 14, we got a darn good chance to play in the postseason. And that's kind of the message. Even though we've hit some tough times, there's still a lot to play for. There's been some teams sitting exactly where we are right now at this stage of the season to find their way in the College World Series. And history gives you hope. Fresno State was a 4 seed a couple years ago when I was at North Carolina, and they actually beat us in Omaha, won the national championship, and I think they were the last team to get in.
Wow!
And so in this sport, you can catch lightning in a bottle.
Well, I hope so. When we planned this out, we were here.
Right.
It's going to be the series, and it may still be.
Right.
It may be the turnaround series. And Coach,
well, I really appreciate y'all coming, showcasing our stadium and our baseball program and our facility here. It means the world to the University of South Carolina, our fans, and our baseball team.
Well, best wishes, Coach Chad Holbrook. Been a great host, and best wishes tonight, Coach.
Thank you, Paul.
Our pleasure.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Our next guest was with us about 3 weeks ago, Frank Martin, the head basketball coach. I'm so baseball-centric, Coach, that it's good to see you. You look, for a guy that's still in the last couple of days of recruiting, you look mighty relaxed.
Yeah, it's we've been on the road a little bit and traveling and hosting and entertaining, and yesterday I had to play golf in a basically monsoon and 50-degree weather.
Oh, my goodness.
That's not something I wanted to do, but I had to do it for a friend, and then we got a recruit on campus now, and so I'm here for the weekend.
I want to get your reaction. I think when we spoke last, the season was still coming to an end. The SEC has had a lot of changes in basketball, and most people feel like with Avery Johnson and Rick Barnes and Ben Helen, this league has upgraded again.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with the successes of those three guys that that you just mentioned. The one thing that you can sit back and say is that, Rick Ray at Mississippi State, is the first-time head coach, and he had done a heck of a job. But two guys that both Avery and Rick are replacing, and Rick's a dear friend. They had a lot of success where they were at before, and so it's real good for our league. It's real good for our conference that the athletic directors, the institutions were able to go out and hire established winners of college basketball, and with Avery, it's hard to argue the success that he's had as a player. Couple that with the success he's had as a coach at the utmost, highest level that you can have it in basketball.
Talking with Coach, and recruiting never seems to end. I know this period is about to take a break. I realize that's what you do. Coaches never stop, but where are we right now, just in terms of basketball? Because it's so confusing with the fallout of what happened. There's so much criticism of the one and done. When you're recruiting an athlete, take us through that process, and particularly the higher and the elite athletes, which you've had plenty of in your career.
Yeah. Paul, it's changed. I loved it when they can decide to go out of high school. I've always been a big believer. They want to go as a ninth grader, go. That's the beauty of our country. Nobody can prevent us from moving forward at whatever age we choose to take that chance. But recruiting's changed in our sport. Football coaches got to figure it out. I tell people all the time, us basketball coaches need to spend some time with the football guys. They shut down their buildings the month of July.
Mm-hmm.
Head coaches don't recruit in the spring. They've got it figured out. I don't know why us basketball coaches, why we can't be smart enough to kind of think along those lines a little bit. But it's a different animal. With the summer basketball evolving the way it did, I was part of the whole beginning movement of it in the mid-'90s, and the way it's changed over the last 20 years has made recruiting different, and it's interesting. There's good days and there's bad days. The one thing you learn is that you never separate from it, so you better not get wrapped over the bad days, because then it's going to impact what could be a good day.
Coach, you mentioned in this country the opportunities, and you think, I understand where you're coming from there. This is not intended to be political, because we don't really talk politics, but some people that know you, or a lot of people that know you, know your heritage is from Cuba, and certainly that is in the news almost every day right now with the warming of the relationship. We had the president meeting with Raul Castro the other day. I've spoken to others from your generation, and they don't want to think about ever going back there.
Yeah, my grandmother on her deathbed made my uncle and I promise that we would never go back until Castro went away. And my grandmother's grandfather was the lieutenant colonel in the Cuban army that fought Spain for its liberation back in the 1800s. So his medals, his history, it's at their old neighbor's house, and that family's get ready to go. They're not allowed to ship it to us, so we'd have to go over there and retrieve it, and we're having to battle that promise we made my grandmother on her deathbed, and she was the backbone of our family, so we can't go against what we promised her once upon a time. And I'm all for improving the situations for the common folks that live in that island, and that's what this country gave my family when those rights were taken away from them. And if it's going to make their government better, then I'm against it. If it's genuinely going to improve the quality of life for the average citizen on the island of Cuba, then I'm all for improving their conditions, the way they live, the rights. Paul, I can go to the store and they tell you how many slices of cheese you can take home to feed your family. They determine, I don't care how hard you work, you can only earn X number of dollars. Those are things that I can't fathom growing up in the United States of America, where you're rewarded for how much you put in, and nobody holds you down. To think about life that way is real difficult for me to think of.
So true, and there are so many barriers coming down, and I would anticipate you're going to see a lot of interplay between sports and Cuba. Could you ever see taking a team there for an exhibition, or would that be still too tough for you?
Yeah, the NBA's taking a group of guys down there. I'm not sure when. I just know they are. I don't know who's going or what the purpose of the trip is. And it's an island that's so rich in talent and athletes. It's you can go back for years and years, and whether it's Alberto Juan Torena or Teofilo Stevenson or the baseball players, and basketball is very popular on that island also. It's there's a plethora of athletes that have always come from Cuba, and it's something that I hope one day I can do. But I'm not going to do it and break my promise to my grandmother.
I heard that from another friend, and it's again, the bond of something like that is unbreakable and impenetrable, and I admire you for that, because it's easy to say, sure, well, things are better. The Pope may be going there, the President's talking, but nothing's more important than your grandmother. Huh?
I'd be disowned by the whole city of Miami, Paul, and that's the city that kind of made me and taught me the life lessons that I live my life by now, and it go against everything that the people that raised me put in my mind.
I mean, it's you, it's who you are, but how much of that do you now pass along to the young men that you teach and coach?
Speak about it all the time. I have 4 young men on our team that are not Native Americans, and I understand some of the challenges that they face being in a country. Even though I was born here, when I was born, no one in my family spoke English. They were all, they'd been in the country a couple of years. They were struggling to communicate. But this country never held them down, and that's what I speak to our team. Now, even the ones that are born in the United States, I speak to them about that all the time. That, look at me. I'm a kid from Cuban immigrant parents. My grandmother's the only person in my family that ever knew basketball, and I had to go get a job when I was 13 years of age to help my family. It's just the path that I was put on. It's not, no one made me work. It's just kind of what I chose to do to help my family. And it's a different path than most guys that have a job like mine. But now there's only 7 other people in the country that have a job like mine. And if that can be made possible for someone like me, anything can be made possible for them if they put their head down and they stay honest, they work, they're loyal, and they do right by others. And that's what I've tried to do my whole life.
Great story. Craig Martin joining us here in Columbia, the head basketball coach at South Carolina. Many thanks.
Thank you, Paul.
This is the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast.
Andy is up next in Ohio. What's up, Andy?
I did enjoy the interview with Cuban basketball coach there, but the other hour and a half I've spent listening here, I made some assumptions, and I just wondered if you could let me know if they're correct or not. I'm assuming the Paul Finebaum crew didn't get together in a meeting and say, hey, we should go hang out in Columbia, South Carolina for a day. So I'm guessing this wasn't your idea. Is that right?
Actually, I was pretty fired up about it. We had this conversation about 2 months ago about doing different things with the show, about getting out on the road, and this was a reasonably close trip. It tied in with a game that looked like it would be 2 top 5 teams for others, and we're here.
All right. Well, I'll just go ahead and leave it alone past that. Let's just say I'm not so interested in college baseball, but hey, maybe somebody out there is. And I understand, the SEC network has a whole bunch of bowl games they can't replay all summer. So I guess they.
Andy, we had thought about replaying the Alabama-Ohio State game today, had Alabama won, but it didn't work out.
Yeah. But hey, Paul, just to touch really quick, the Kentucky sports radio guy that you had on yesterday, he struck me as sort of a poor man's Clay Travis. He was sort of like the Kentucky version of Clay Travis. While Clay is an unabashed SEC homer who just goes after everybody else, this guy's just like an unabashed UK homer who goes after everybody else, but with a heavy emphasis on the social media. But I mean, it was entertaining. So I enjoyed his take, but I think it's just interesting how sports entertainment is sort of morphing in that direction.
I've gotten to know Matt. I've taken an interest in what he's doing, and I really like what he's accomplished. We talked a couple of years ago, and he said this publicly. He used our model from the old show, the one before SEC baseball trips, to use for what he's done in Kentucky. So I don't know where he's going from here. I think the Clay Travis comparison is fairly accurate, though.
Yeah, but apart from that, you had the one other guest on. You had the guy there with all his metrics and everything else, who actually said that Alabama wasn't going to win. And I can tell that things are absolutely getting worse and getting to the straining point with the Alabama fan base. And I can tell by the reaction, Paul, because normally the entire reaction of the Alabama fan base doesn't uniformly sound like Phyllis from Moga, but that's absolutely what everybody else sounded like the rest of the time. It was, they're quoting Bear Bryant, and we demand respect, and our boys are tough, and they work hard. It was just like, 15 different Phyllises. My question is, I've never had the pleasure of listening to the show when the Alabama program is really down. Do all of the fan base constituents who call in remain that delusional when Alabama's bad? Or is there actually, some realism?
It's interesting, Andy. When Alabama was down, one thing about Alabama fans, and I've always really admired them, they don't ever give up. They either go backwards, talk about what they have done, or they look forward. So, I mean, that's what makes them unique, and I think that what makes them insufferable at times to people from Ohio.
So they either talk about what they did in the glory days, or they pull a Tammy and they pick themselves to win the national championship every year and go undefeated across the board, right?
That's it.
Duly noted. I look forward to it, Paul. Have a good weekend.
Thank you very much. Barry is in Georgia. Hey, Barry. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Hey, Paul. First of all, Andy can kiss my SEC butt.
Mine too.
I'm just curious. Out of the top 20 baseball teams right now, how many SEC teams are in the top 20? And I know you don't know off the top of your head. Because somebody maybe looked that up.
I think there was five. I think five, if my memory is correct. I mean, certainly you have LSU, A&M. I know Vanderbilt, Florida is in there. I may be missing one, but
yeah. I mean, SEC sports. You pick a sport, whether it be girls softball or whatever. You're going to see in the top 20, at least 5, 6 SEC teams, I would probably say, right? SEC sports from top to bottom are the strongest of any conference. And for somebody like Andy to call down and to take a shot, first of all, at college baseball, obviously he's never been to a college baseball game. They're really exciting. These kids are out there hustling. It's not like going to an Atlanta Braves game, to where the guys are getting paid to make men and not do anything. And it's very exciting. And I recommend, especially if you've got a son that likes baseball, take it to a college baseball game because they are pure entertainment and very, very fun to go to.
Well, there's no doubt. By the way, I think Missouri is also in that list. College baseball, I'm not saying it's for everyone, but you made a great point. It is a fun sport to take children, and it's easy to get in and out of. It's not expensive, obviously. That's why the SEC baseball tournament has been so successful in Hoover, Alabama. But I mean, we're here at Carolina Stadium. They sold, I think, 6,000 season tickets.
They won back-to-back national championships just a couple of years ago. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, Mississippi State has an enormous attendance record.
For this crowd to call him and say, I know you didn't choose to go to Columbia, he didn't know anything about sports. You've got, a two-time national champion and a reigning national champion playing and competing right there in front of you. Why wouldn't you go there?
Well, I mean, listen, we have a 4-hour program. I'm involved in most every decision. I'm not the final arbiter, but I was all in. I thought this was a great idea,
sure.
And I think it has been a great idea. College football exists pretty much every day of the year. And by the way, we haven't ignored it. We spent the last 30 or 40 minutes talking about it. We went to Joe Test down in Tuscaloosa, so it's important. And Monday we'll be talking about it considerably. But the opportunity
I called
for me,
I called you before and talked about how even when the gymnastics was on Friday night, my wife and I, that was a form of television because it was very entertaining, and just to see what these girls can do, it was just amazing. So I mean, sports is if you like competition, I mean, there's always something on the SEC network that you can watch that's very entertaining and very competitive and got great athletes, whether it be girls or guys out there.
Thank you very much for the call. But I mean, the idea for me to talk to Tim Corbin, one of the most interesting people in sports. I mean, you talk about somebody who's very intellectual, very intuitive, who won the national championship at Vanderbilt. I mean, a lot of people just, I mean, they merely won it a couple of years ago with David Price. I mean, to sit there and talk to a fine young man like Carson Fulmer, a great pitcher. He's got an incredible career in front of him. I mean, to me, this is fun. I mean, I'm not a reporter. I'm not a play-by-play announcer. I'm landlocked pretty much every day to a studio, which is what I want to do. So the opportunity to get out occasionally. We don't do this very often. We went to the SEC basketball tournament, and that was fun. And here we are again, and we'll do this more in the future.
Thank you for listening to the best of the Paul Finebaum podcast. Tune into the Paul Finebaum Show every day from 3 to 7 Eastern on the SEC Network or on the ESPN radio app.
Geico presents Strange Saving Stories. Astronomers detected an interstellar transmission. It stated, Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. The implications were staggering. Was the cosmos telling us we could all save hundreds on car insurance with Geico? Or did their radar merely pick up a signal from the nearby Rufus and Clyde's morning show? We may never know.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Major League Baseball on ESPN Radio. Last season, the Pirates reached the postseason for the second consecutive season, only to be sent home early after losing the wild card. Will they return for the third straight year? This weekend they face the Cubs, who have plans to make their first postseason berth since 2008. The Cubs and Pirates. The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.